As an athlete, ACL injuries can feel downright devastating. And believe me, as a former athlete myself, I get it. When you experience an ACL injury, you don't just lose the ability to play your sport. You lose all of the things that come with it. So the things like the pride in being able to work your butt off, the camaraderie of training and playing with your teammates, even the psychological benefits of being able to stay active consistently. So I think that list could go on, and for each athlete, I'm sure their sport means something a little different to them. But at the end of the day, it's okay to be upset because ACL injuries are tough, right? So hear me out here. Take your time processing the injury as long as you need to. However, when you're ready to shift your focus from what's happened to how you choose to respond to what's happened, then I think that this message is for you. So what I'm here to tell you is that ACL injuries can actually be a blessing in disguise. Let's just take a moment then and think about how the ACL injury occurred to begin with. So you were performing at your sport, and at some point the ACL was forced to take on more load than it was capable of holding. Because the ACL took on more load than it was capable of holding, it tore. So with that in mind, we need to ask the question, and this is extremely important and almost always missed, but why was your ACL forced to take on so much more load compared to other athletes who do not suffer an ACL tear? The answer is that certain muscles throughout the kinetic chain were not creating and absorbing force efficiently enough to minimize the load on the ACL. When muscles do not create and absorb force efficiently, those forces are distributed elsewhere in the body to other muscles, soft tissues, and yes, ligaments like the ACL. So in other words, there was a kink somewhere in your kinetic chain. Some muscles or muscle was not performing at 100% of their capability, which of course put the ACL at risk. Not only did these muscles put the ACL at risk, but they also were holding you back from truly achieving your full performance capacity, and you probably didn't even realize it. Therefore, and this is very important to hear, if your ACL recovery program focuses on not only correcting for the ACL injury, but also correcting the root of what caused the ACL injury in the first place, the injury can really, truly be a blessing in disguise. It means that you have months to focus on identifying what your weaknesses were before the injury and working then to make them your strengths. It means that you can come back from this injury performing at an even higher level then, and of course it means that you can and should come back bigger, faster, and stronger. But at the end of the day, it all depends on where you and your ACL recovery team place the focus. Just make sure to ask not only how they can help you get back to 100%, but also address the deficits that may have caused the ACL tear in the first place. If you approach your ACL recovery in this way, it's possible that you will ultimately learn to see it as a blessing in disguise.